Good, good, good.
Jerry says up, bumper looks nice.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we are good. One more time, Sam. We tried it. We are live, ladies and gentlemen. We're live in our new studio, and we're doing such an exciting thing today. We are doing a test run, all right? We're doing a test run. We have a great show for you today, and we have, I think, a very inspiring show for you today. We're optimists on this channel, and so we want to behave like optimists. We want to tell you the good news about what is happening in this country, around the world, and there's actual good news. I know it seems devastating when you look around and you see the amount of tyranny that is at place and the screaming demon-like elites when they see their power slowly but surely slipping away, the desperation from Joe Biden, for instance, this week, changing the Senate rules, so on and so forth. But hope. And the best part about this week, and as you go into the weekend, the best part about how we should think about our positions over the last 2 years is, that's right, you are on the right side of history if you didn't let people take your freedoms, if you didn't let people lock you down, if you didn't allow tyrants into your life, to the very air that you breathe. You're on the right side of history if you were anti-lockdown, if you were anti-tyranny. That has always been the right side of history. You have never been on the right side of history if you were for stealing people's freedoms. You will never be on the right side of history if you are for taking people's jobs because they didn't take medicine that you wanted to force them to take. It is absolutely unconstitutional for the federal government to force you to take medicine that you don't want to take, and now the Supreme Court has upheld that decision. The best part about that ruling is that even the most leftist organizations inside of our country, the most liberal organizations inside of our nation, you can't get worse than the blue-haired, nose ring feminist studies major who's making your barista latte macchiato at Starbucks. Can't get worse than that. Ladies and gentlemen, even Starbucks, with 250,000 employees, even Starbucks is getting rid of their vaccine mandate. I have here for you a clip from Tucker Carlson explaining exactly this. Check it out.
If you take 3 steps back, it's kind of amusing in a sad way. Here you have daffy old Joe Biden still yammering on about vaccines. Get your 3rd shot or no hot dogs for you. That's an order. But actually, as he's been in seclusion in Delaware, the rest of the world has moved beyond orders. No one is listening to Joe Biden anymore. He is weak. He commands no respect. The world no longer cares what he says. And as if to prove it, just hours before Biden spoke today, Starbucks, the left-wing coffee chain that under usual circumstances worships Joe Biden and his party, Starbucks announced that its 200,000 employees no longer have to get the vax. It was mandatory at Starbucks. It's not anymore. They're dropping that requirement. Well, that's kind of a big change. This is in direct contradiction to Joe Biden's personal orders. Just a few weeks ago, Biden warned of, quote, a winter of severe illness and death. What an upbeat guy he is, but only for the unvaccinated. And yet, at Starbucks, the unvaxxed baristas are still standing, still pouring those lattes, and now they're getting back to work. What does this mean? Well, it means they've decided the senile mannequin in the White House knows less about COVID than they do, and they may be onto something.
Senile mannequin in the White House. God, I love Tucker so much. Senile mannequin in the White House, ladies and gentlemen. The senile mannequin in the White House is probably the most apt terminology for Joe Biden. Joe Biden isn't there. Joe Biden hasn't been there for a very, very long time. We've known this, and we've told you this on this channel many times over. And by the way, we're here. We're back. I'm hearing back and forth from our team here. I know there's going to be some glitches. We're just testing this out. I thank you all. We decided to just test it live and to see what kind of a show we can put together live. There's going to be glitches. There's going to be little things that we're working on. Thank you for sticking with us. We are trying to bring you a far more immersive show, and a show that's going to have so many more exciting elements and functionalities, and we have so many things that we're cooking up in the laboratory. So thank you all for working alongside with us and watching alongside with us. With Starbucks dropping its vaccine mandate, along with a ton of other companies, right? Here on screen, you can see Newsmax. GE suspends COVID-19 vaccine or test requirements because the Supreme Court, of course, called tyranny what it is and said, Joe Biden, you cannot force people to take medicine they don't want as a condition of their employment.
But there may be a light at the end of this tunnel, folks. General Electric just announced that they're scrapping their vax test mandate, all that stuff, in the wake of the Supreme Court decision, which is a good thing.
Now we have the next clip playing. Okay, great. All right, that was a cell phone ringing from Sam Gorski, our fine studio technician here, and and playing the clip again, guys. We're working on it. We're doing it live. What did Bill O'Reilly say? He said, "Do it live." Reading to you from Fox Business, roughly a week after the Supreme Court reversed President Biden's workplace vaccine mandate, coffee chain is following suit, says the Associated Press. We respect the court's ruling and will comply, Starbucks said, with the chief operating officer, John Culver, in a memo to his employees. Again, Starbucks employs nearly 250,000 people in this country. Such an awesome decision here by Starbucks. We commend you. My wife and I actually had an interesting conversation the other day. We like canceling back. Cancel culture works both ways. So we decided in our household, like, exactly which products we were going to cancel and which evil corporations like we had to stick with out of necessity, right? We love Starbucks a lot. I love my caffeine in the morning. Anyone who watches the show knows I love my caffeine. I often do it with a coffee cup in my hand. I'm going to be needing a lot of caffeine after this show. But, ladies and gentlemen, we had to get rid of some brands. So no Nike in the Johnson household. No Nikes. We will never have a piece of Nike apparel in the Johnson household. I will never give a penny to the Uyghur slavers of Nike and to Colin Kaepernick, of which I believe they pay like $30 million. I think his Nike contract is bigger than any NFL contract he ever had. So we will never give a penny to Nike. But you will often, if I'm on the road especially, and if I'm traveling, find me with a Starbucks coffee cup in my hand because I need my caffeine. And so it makes me very happy that Starbucks is no longer requiring the vaccine. It's not just them, as you can see here on screen. General Electric suspends its COVID-19 vaccine or test requirement after U.S. Supreme Court ruling. General Electric,
But there may
and one of
be
the more historic companies in America. I don't know exactly how many employees they had. Maybe we'll find out in this Newsmax clip on the subject. Let's go.
But there may be a light at the end of this tunnel, folks. General Electric just announced that they're scrapping their vax test mandate, all that stuff, in the wake of the Supreme Court decision, which is a good thing. I mean, maybe the first domino to fall, little Joe's OSHA workaround was overruled.
Okay, so General Electric, I still don't know exactly how many employees that entails, but General Electric has also scrapped its vaccine mandate. Listen, if you are now requiring your employees to be vaccinated, it is against the rulings of the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is saying that that the federal government has no power to require corporations to do that. So now it is solely up to you. Now it is solely on you that you are requiring this of your employees and forcing them, presumably, to take medicine that they don't want. Now, what has my opinion been on the vaccine from the start? My opinion on the vaccine is very clear. I am not a doctor. My wife is a medical professional, so I listen to my wife when it comes to my family's medical needs. And quite frankly, I think you should listen to your medical professionals and people that you trust when it comes to the medicine you put in your body, regardless of what it is. Regardless. We've been very, very clear on this channel. The person you shouldn't listen to are people who aren't medical professionals. For instance, like the PR and marketing wing of, let's say, the company you work for, or the corporate heads of some corporate board who aren't trained physicians, right? Who do not day to day have your best interest in mind. Who cares about my employees more than me? No one. No one. I give them a roof over their head, food on their table. I care about my employees like I care about the people in my life that I take care of. I have the same desire to see my employees succeed and to live thriving, vibrant lives as I do my own children. The government doesn't care more about my children than I do. The government doesn't care more about your employees than you do, than the person who employs them. And if you are an employer or if you're an employee of the company, and that describes the vast majority of Americans, you're either an employer or an employee, there really isn't any middle ground there, then you are going to allow those employees to make their own medical decisions, what is best for them. It all comes down to the basics, ladies and gentlemen. The basics are this. It's very simple. The person in charge of your body and its health is you. That is a condition between you and God. You and God. That is how we get natural rights. That is what the entire founding of this nation is built off of. So you and God are the people who are in charge of your rights, your bodily autonomy. What you do to your body, you will be held accountable for it, and what you do with your body, quite frankly. All right? I'm a Christian. I sincerely believe that I'll be held accountable for what I do in this life. However, ladies and gentlemen, when the government, whose sole purpose in its founding here in America is to simply protect that from being violated, when the government tries to get in between that relationship and play God, say that it cares more about your children than you do, so it knows what's best for your children and you don't, or your employees, or anyone else, that is a defiling of your natural rights. And it's a defiling of how this country was built. It's a defiling of the very core natures woven into our founding documents in this nation. And so you have to reject it. Praise the Lord. Thank God. Hallelujah. The Supreme Court rejected it. And now COVID tyranny and the COVID dictators are collapsing globally. They're collapsing worldwide. It is so egregious that there are companies that perhaps make a lot of clothes that are very popular with conservatives and companies that claim to be conservative that still keep their vaccine mandate, essentially saying that it knows more. These companies are not healthcare companies. It knows more about your health and cares more about your health than you do, and that you're not smart enough to make your own healthcare decisions. Companies like Carhartt, you can see here on screen. Carhartt keeps its vaccination mandate in place for workers despite SCOTUS ruling. Let's read the article here from Newsweek.com. Clothing company Carhartt recently announced that it was keeping its COVID-19 vaccination mandate for employees despite its ruling by the Supreme Court blocking Joe Biden's vaccine mandate for large companies. In an email sent to employees regarding the vaccine mandate, recently leaked on social media, the CEO of Carhartt, a man named Mark Vidale, wrote that recent Supreme Court rulings does not change Carhartt's mandatory vaccination program. Carhartt thinks it's a doctor. Carhartt, the place that makes clothes that you perhaps wear in the winter if you're a farmer to bale hay, or if you're a hipster in Brooklyn to get a latte from a Starbucks barista who isn't forced to be vaccinated. You're wearing your Carhartt beanie because you want to look whatever in Williamsburg or Brooklyn, and you're sipping your latte. This company that makes hats and doilies and jackets and pants, right? Used to be for just farmers, but it's become like an urban trend to wear Carhartt. There's a lot of really funny memes about that, actually. This company says that it knows more about your health than you do. This company, which is presumably a company about like American standards and American grit and farmers, and we stand for farmers. This company wants to play doctor. This company wants to play God for its employees. It's insane. This level of insanity is disgusting to the vast majority of Americans. That's why cancel Carhartt was trending over the last few days on Twitter. People are rejecting this. And I'm very proud to announce on this show that on my website, BennyJohnson.com, on my website, we are going to be launching a list, the COVID cancel back list. We'll work on the name, but we're going to be launching a list of companies that, in defiance of the Supreme Court, continues to keep their vaccine mandates, getting in between their employees and their relationship with God himself. God gives you a body. You are a soul inside of a body. He gives you a temporal body, and it's your responsibility to care for that body in different ways, ladies and gentlemen. People make decisions. There's a lot of problems in this country. Obesity, heart disease, diabetes. There's a ton of problems in this country. You know the number one killer for people, young people between the ages of 45 and 18, according to the CDC, is fentanyl. Why don't we talk about that? How do we get fentanyl? From China through an open border. Where's the emergency powers to stop that? That's the number one killer in this country. Where's the Carhartt ruling on fentanyl use? A lot of Carhartt being used in places where I grew up, like in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. A lot of Carhartt being used there, and a lot of fentanyl being used there. So where's Carhartt's stance on fentanyl, the actual number one killer in America for young people, 45 to 18, according to the CDC? No, you won't hear anything from them because it's all about political positioning, posing, and wokeism. It's all about taking your indulgences and giving your indulgences because it's a new church. The COVID cult is a new church, and it's a church that is collapsing. It's a false idol, and it's beautiful to see. Here is the report from a local news station on the Carhartt mandate and how disgusted people are with it.
Now to the Business Watch. Carhartt is facing backlash after keeping a vaccine mandate in place. This comes after the U.S. Supreme Court blocked the Biden administration's push to require employees at large businesses to be vaccinated or get tested regularly. The company, known for its working and outdoor clothing, told Fox News the decision to implement its own mandate is a part of the long-standing commitment to workplace safety. Carhartt has approximately 3,000 U.S. employees. Meanwhile, employees at Starbucks are no longer required to be vaccinated against COVID-19. The coffee chain made changes roughly a week after the Supreme Court reversed President Biden's workplace vaccine mandate. Starbucks is still encouraging all workers to be vaccinated and boosted against the virus.
So it's not just GE and Starbucks and this insane like idea that Carhartt needs to be the one outlier here. The people who make pants for farmers to bale hay, they're the ones. The guys who are baling hay in negative 30-degree weather outside in Iowa in the field, that's the company that's going to continue to have a vaccine mandate. Reading to you from the Wall Street Journal here. Several corporate leaders said they're going to scrap the imposition of vaccine mandates on their workers after the Supreme Court blocked the Biden administration mandate on private employees. We were ready, but we're glad we didn't have to implement it, says Guy T. Williams, chief executive of Gulf Coast Bank Company, Louisiana-based bank that employs 750 people. Mr. Williams said he's worried about the organization and could lose employees if they didn't want to comply. That's right, because it's not a business's job to become your doctor. This is, again, it's the definition of fascism. The definition of fascism is the fusion of the monopoly that the state has on violence with the monopoly that the corporations have on dictating your life and how you go about your daily 9 to 5. And then you fuse those together and you create a fascistic society where it has total power over you, power over violence, and then power over how you lead your life, right? The day-to-day gaining of your bread on your table, right? So these companies are saying, yeah, we're not going to do that. It's fascistic. This is a job. You come into work from 9 to 5, you get a paycheck, you go home, and we hope you live a happy life. We're not your doctors. We're not your doctors. We're not your medical professionals. And we're not going to tell you what you should do with your body. I mean, that's insane. It's insane. And we will look back. We will look back on these things the same way we look back on slavery. We will look back on these things the same way we look back on like blots in our history. Right now, the March for Life is going on in Washington, D.C., by the way. And we say, God bless you to those marchers. And we say, thank you, thank you, thank you very much for all of you standing up. We'll look back on this time and we'll say, this insanity is akin to some of the darkest moments in our history. You can see on screen right now, before we get to our next story, but you can see on screen right now what it looks like in New York. New York, like a blue-pilled, certainly a blue-pilled place that is, I don't know, have they elected a Republican since Rudy Giuliani? Look at the people marching. Look at the beautiful people marching. They want you to feel like you're alone. They truly do. They want you to feel as though you're alone and you have no one behind you, you have no one backing you up, and that you have lost. The opposite is true, ladies and gentlemen. You can see here scenes from around the world. But let's hop back into the article. Many prominent U.S. companies have some sort of vaccine requirement that has stopped short of mandating them for all staff. U.S. airlines and quite a few high-profile companies, including the Walt Disney Company and Tyson Foods, have adopted vaccine mandates for their workers. Others, such as Facebook and Meta platforms and J.P. Morgan Chase, required them for employees returning to their offices, but not for work remote. Many corporate leaders held off in implementing vaccine testing policies, vaccine or test policies, waiting to see if the Biden administration's rules would withstand legal challenges in November. You remember the Biden administration, it's evil. The Biden administration said, we are pushing, regardless of whether this is legal or not, we're pushing companies to continue to force it down people's throats. Ladies and gentlemen, it's nothing short of fascism. This is what fascism is. Human Resources Trade Group says 75% of employers surveyed says they would likely not put vaccine or testing rules in place if the administration mandates were permanently struck down. That's a wonderful number. It should be a little bit higher. It should be 100%. 75% of employees said no. But Carhartt says yes. Shame on Carhartt. Sincerely. Shame on Carhartt. It's disgusting. It's why we are very, very proud. We're going to be starting a list of companies that have kept their illegal and unconstitutional mandate. Companies that you should not work for, companies you should boycott. Cancel culture works both ways. We're going to be very excited to start this list. We're going to start it next week on our website, bennyjohnson.com. You will be able to go and find the list of companies who are oath breakers to their employees. They swore when you signed the contracts with your employer that you are going to treat these employees with respect. There's a lot of laws about treating employees with respect. None of these companies are your doctor. None of these companies, very few, unless you work for unless you work for an actual healthcare company, do the job of healthcare. And so they have absolutely no right to make medicine that you may or may not want to take a condition of your employee. And the Supreme Court, in a 6-3 decision, decided that as well. General Electric and Union Pacific Corp were among those who suspended vaccine work requirements. We are going to name and shame. We're going to name and shame the companies that are keeping their vaccine mandates, including, but we're starting on this live, Carhartt. Okay, so let's go to across the pond to the United Kingdom, where you are seeing the absolute and affected COVID collapse of the dictatorships, the COVID dictatorships that were propped up around the world in westernized Europe, in America, in China. It is disgusting that they followed the Chinese model. I mean, this is the thing that should scare you the most about this moment, is that you step back and you say, our elites and our medical professionals said China, communist China, that's the way we should go. And that's a tell, because these people have always wanted China here in America. They've always wanted us to become communist China. Communist China is their dream. Klaus Schwab, the World Global Economic Forum, the dream is communist China. They looked at the world after the Soviet Union fell, and they said, where is a place where we don't have democracy, where we can have full, total control of people, where we can tell them what to do and how to live their lives? Listen, if there's an outbreak of COVID, this is happening. The Beijing Olympics start in like a week. All right. And by the way, unbelievable. You release a virus onto the world and then you get rewarded with the Olympics. It is incredible how compromised our elites are in the global community. It truly is. And people are very awake to it. It is remarkable that they get a single COVID case in Beijing, and then the military locks down entire square blocks of the city, right? One person gets test positive for COVID, and then the military just comes in and locks down. You can't leave your apartment. There was an office building in Beijing where one worker had COVID, and then they locked down the entire office building. Nobody got to leave. That is what our ruling class, our fascistic ruling class, wants in this country. That's their model. That's why when COVID first happened, the initial thing that they all ran towards, the light they all ran towards, is what did China do? It's terrifying. But that dictatorship is coming to an end. You were on the right side of history. If you were for freedom, if you were for people retaining their civil liberties, then you were on the right side of history. You can see here in England, it's amazing what a lot of scandals and poor poll numbers will do. Look at how quickly they retreat and how quickly the COVID dictatorships crumble when reality hits. Here is Boris Johnson on the floor of Parliament this week.
We can return to Plan A in England and allow Plan B regulations to expire. As a result, from the start of Thursday next week, mandatory certification will end. Organisations can, of course, choose to use the NHS COVID pass voluntarily, but we will end the compulsory use of COVID status certification in England. From now on, the government is no longer asking people to work from home. And people should now speak to their employers about arrangements for returning to the office. And having looked at the data carefully, the Cabinet concluded that once regulations lapse, the government will no longer mandate the wearing of face masks anywhere. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, from tomorrow we will no longer require face masks in classrooms, and the Department for Education will shortly remove national guidance on their use in communal areas. In the country at large, we will continue to suggest the use of face coverings in enclosed or crowded spaces, particularly when you come into contact with people you don't normally meet, but we will trust the judgment of the British people and no longer criminalise anyone who chooses not to wear one. The government will also ease restrictions further on visits to care homes, and my right honourable friend, the Secretary of State for Health and Social Care, will set out plans in the coming days. Mr. Speaker, as we return to Plan A, the House will know that some measures still remain, including those on self-isolation.
Gentlemen, so ladies and gentlemen, what you see there is England, the United Kingdom, the Great Britain being great again. That is what being great again looks like. Trusting your own citizens to make choices for their own lives. It really is the prevailing question of our day, which is who is in control of your body? Who's in charge of you? You are a individual, autonomous person. You have agency. Your body is yours, and what you do with it is your business. Or are you a machine, as Sotomayor argued in the Supreme Court? Sotomayor, in the clearly dumbest Supreme Court justice, argued that human beings are just like machines. This is the way that the communist views the world. People are cogs, numbers, digits, and they can be done away with. You can go ahead and check out the Gulag system inside of Soviet Russia, or the current slavery happening to the Uyghurs inside of communist China. Hence why the Johnson family will never buy Nikes, because they are definitely made with slave labor. Ladies and gentlemen, they don't view human beings as divine agents of a higher power who are here on this earth that has been given a spark of light and value by a creator. Again, the March for Life is happening right now in Washington, D.C. It's a wonderful event. If it's like any other year, then there's going to be hundreds of thousands of people marching against abortion. And the simple sides and the simple views on abortion is it's very easy from someone who comes from my point of view, which is the Christian point of view, which is that life is precious and life has a spark to it from the divine. We are going to be welcoming in a couple months baby number 2 into the Johnson family, and it's the most remarkable thing in planet Earth to be able to hold a newborn baby in your hands that you helped create. It'll change your life forever. Change my life forever. And so what you see on the screen here, what you see, I'm pointing to the, I got to learn which way to point. What you see on the screen here is people all around the planet marching for bodily agency. They want you to feel, here's Seattle, where they had Chop and Chaz. I went to Chop and Chaz. They never had that many people in Chop and Chaz. Chaz, which one do they decide on? Look at this. Austria, Italy. They want you to feel alone. It's actually the tactic of the communist. The tactic is to use mass media to make you feel as though you have no place, that your opinions, Argentina, Scotland, that your opinions are simply held by you. And you alone, and you are on an island. And nobody else is with you. That is an evil and vicious tool of the communists. They've always used tools like that. That is why we do this show. We want to show you and show the country who we actually are. That the freedom movement is strong. That we as Americans are going to band together as we always have. It's always just been a small group of patriots. It was never a massive movement. Not even the original Revolutionary War was a massive movement. About a third of the country was in favor of the Revolutionary War. And how did they organize? In taverns and with pamphlets, memes, the memes of the day. All right. That's why we do this show. We do this show. And I know that I know that quite frankly, we're working on it. We're going to have like the cell phone went off on the show, or we had to restart the show because of a technical glitch today. We're going to have like little ups and downs. But the purpose of investing in this platform and investing in our ability to reach you with this beautiful freedom message and this message of positivity and this message of victory is to counteract and countervail the narrative that we've lost. The opposite is true. We're winning. And the best part about it is that we're actually on the right side of history. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll close by saying this. People will look back on this moment and truly question which side were you on? Were you on the side that was going to strip away the rights of parents to raise their children, of employers and employees to have workplaces that dignify a worker? Are you on the side of ripping away someone's bodily agency, a divine spark given to them by God himself? Were you on the side that was going to dehumanize the population of this planet? As you saw there, it's a planetary movement. This is a global movement for freedom. If you were on that side, then you are on the side of some of the darkest regimes in history, which has done the exact same thing. I'm not going to equivocate right now the moments in history that were just like this, but ladies and gentlemen, you can check out the Great Leap Forward in China. You can check out the totalitarianism of the Soviet Union or the Third Reich and see that people being treated as widgets, them being treated as less than human, people being segregated by class, people being marked, those things are evil. They have always been evil, and you just have to look into recent history to find out how this ends. The tyrants never win. We win because we are on the side of people's human rights, their God-given rights, and we will always defend that because that wins. It always will win as long as a few patriots keep fighting. That's why we do this show. My name is Benny Johnson. This has been our first time doing it live from the new set, the new studio and everything. We had some ups and downs. We had some clunky back and forth. But ladies and gentlemen, that's all the beauty of you helping us build this show. You're part of it. We're here for you. God bless you all. God, family, country. Let's go save America. See ya.